welcome back. Episode 2 of what I now know is called Track Car SOS, where I'm planning to get this car back on the road, pass an MOT, and then back on the track. First things first, there's not going to be a whole lot of actual working on the car in this video. It's more of a planning video. What am I going to try and do? What have I found? Peeling back the layers of the car to see what state we're in. There's a long list of things that could be done to this car, and top of the list for most people would probably be to scrap it, but that's not going to be what happens, at least until I've truly destroyed the whole thing. So I've been poking around on the subframe with a screwdriver, a rust detector, and mercifully, although it's very, very crusty, I don't think it's unsalvageable. I think it's still solid. I think there's a lot of surface rust that could be cleaned off. At some point, I could strip all the surface rust off, repaint this. Obviously, I could do things like change all the bushings out and freshen all of that stuff up. But that's kind of secondary, because I think we all know that the welding on the car is going to be where we probably come unstuck. So, on the recommendation of the video that I watched, I've got some of these plastic grinding wheel things, which should apparently attack the rust and the paint and not the metal. We will see about that shortly. And this week I've been peeling back some of the rust, and I found it's reasonably symmetrical in terms of the real bad stuff, the MOT fail stuff. So on both sides, these subframe mounting points are rusted out with holes, so they need to be plated over. And then inside the wheel arch at this bottom edge is pretty bad. The MOT didn't actually pick up on a hole on that side, but it didn't take much poking to go through. So same on both sides, and that's what needs to be fixed. The order that I plan to do these in is to start with the subframe mounting points, because even though that seems more structural to me, it's a simpler, or it's a less complicated fix. Kind of this one bend down there, so one plate to replace the top part, and then one plate to replace the bottom part. I'm going to try and do them separately like they did at the factory, and I think that shouldn't be too bad. So that's why I'm going to start there, because currently I have no idea how to weld. I will practice off the car first. Now we come to the part where I probably make a huge mistake, which I will reverse my decision on in the next video, because I've already changed my mind on this about 3 times just during the course of the week. Having removed the side skirts, it's fairly apparent to me that someone has already been in here and fixed this, or, well, I won't insult them too much over the quality of the repair, because we don't know what I'm going to produce, or we could probably assume it's going to be worse. Same goes for the sill. So this has already been fixed, and it doesn't look so great in there. But my plan is to try and do the best I can do at fixing this. Initially, when I found this damage inside, which I assume, I haven't actually looked, but I assume is the same on the other side, my plan was just to play it over the front, really superficial fix, and just go back on track. But I've been thinking about it a bit more, and I'm not a huge fan of that approach. But I'm thinking that if I look inside here, it doesn't go too far. And if I look at this outer sill, it doesn't look like the most complicated shape in the world to make. It's just one kind of gentle radius bend. And then if I look at the sill, sort of similar. It's like a Z shape, right? And then I just need to make the outer panel, the inner panel, and weld them together. And when I have those cut off, I will be able to access the brace inside and do something, I'm not sure exactly what yet, but something about fixing the rust that's there, and at least get it so it's all attached back together. But this will be pending me learning how to weld, seeing how things go here, and my general mood at the time. Once that's done, I can then replace this stuff here. This should come around a little bit more to be kind of all the way out here. That's what I'm thinking. That may not happen if the subframe mounts turn out to be an absolute nightmare and I'm terrible at welding, which is a strong likelihood. I always have the backup of just plating over this, not thinking about anything that's inside, and putting it back on the road, doing a few track days this year, and then coming up with some other plan of a different car to have. I also found some more superficial parts of rust. This part around here should be present. I shouldn't be able to put my hand through that gap, and there's some pretty bad rust on the inside of the wheel arch up there. And I took off the kind of ugly rubber stripping that was around here, and there's quite a lot of superficial rust. But because that's not, you know, the MOT fail, that's not what's keeping it off the road right now, that's not going to be the big focus. So this is number one, this is number two, anything else is a bonus. But that is the plan. The next episode will probably be me having a go at welding, and depending how that goes, we'll decide about this. This is possibly, well, almost certainly not worth doing for such a wonderful specimen of a car, but I've got to learn somewhere. If I do it on this and it all goes wrong, it's not the end of the world, but I'll give it a go. I'd like to get this car back on track. And that's all I have for this thrilling episode. Any words of wisdom that are not, you should scrap this car because there's no way that it's worth putting all this time and effort into a car that you could replace for probably less. Don't want to hear that advice, but anyone else who thinks this is a really fantastic idea, or maybe that I'm making some slight missteps in the decisions that I've made, let me know. We can only try. We either fix this or it goes in the scrap heap, and that seems like that would be a shame. So tune in next time, where hopefully I'll actually do something and not just talk for ages while looking at the rusty insides of a wheel arch.